Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special edition Roach Crossing live stream. Before we start, I have two things to do, something to get and something to show somebody. Jojo, I need to send you something, unless I already sent you, in which case I have goldfish memory. Hello, Mr. Boy. Okay. Okay. All right, Jojo, I've sent you a text. Let's say a quick hi to everybody who's here. Junior, Bunklo Mimus, Jojo, Braden, Tennyson, Hylas, and Shane. It's been a week. It has been a week. And first and foremost, have welcomed a lovely little lady into the family. I'm going to go disrupt her right now, even though I know she doesn't want to be disrupted. It's not that big, hairy demon thing that's right there, who is going to lay down in a second. She's got to say hi to everybody. Oh, poor baby. Come on, poor little baby. We got to say hi to everybody. We got to say hi to everybody. Oh, everybody. This is, we'll put this down to one of her little puppy eyes. Everybody say hello to Nazig. This is Viktor's girlfriend. Oh, sorry. She wants me to put her down. So she can go antagonize Viktor. What do you want? Do you want a treat? So everybody, the puppy is here. And also Viktor's here. Here you go. You can hit that. Viktor, you can have that too. There we go. There we go. Try and get the subject matter in frame here. There we go. A little bit of light coming in there. Special live stream, as I said before. We are at the gampr stream, which I planned months and months and months ahead of time. I'll just quickly touch on some things. More auction orders went out this week / going out this week. I had a family thing happen earlier today that I had to rush and attend to. So last of auction orders disregarding Rainbow Stags and a handful of people who you already know who you are have gone out this week. Thank God. Anything else I need to touch on? Well, I'll just get into. Let's talk about the puppy. The puppy who is right here. There we go. I guess I can lean back. We'll try and get them both in the shot. So, yep, special stream. I've been planning this for a couple months now, and we're at it. And I'm glad that we have her for the stream, even if we can't see her fully. She's right there. She is right there. Trying to fit everybody in here. Only have so much space. So she was basically what happened was last week, and the last week has been a blur for me. I can't really remember. I can't remember if it was Thursday or Friday, but I called the person. I'm going to say a quick hello to everybody who joined us in the chat too that I didn't get to yet. Anthony, I already said hi to Hylas. Okay, I said hi to everybody already. Man, Tennyson, good to see you. Also, I saw you. Doing an Air in a Vegas stream sometime. Yes, I'd like to do an Air in a Vegas stream sometime, probably in the summer. Air in a Vegas exclusive. Oh, well, now they go over there. Okay, they're hanging out together. That's good. So maybe I'll get the Air in a Vegas stream pre-scheduled and go from there, maybe for months in the future. The problem is we've also this has been a week. We obviously Nazi came. And Saturday we started house hunt stuff, and we're gonna rewind. We're gonna rewind to her coming. So to what I was talking about before. I'm very tired, guys. I'm very tired. I've bought like maybe 3 or 4 12 or 15 packs of these from Gordon Food Service in the last like 2 weeks. It's been a grind with everything that's happening and stuff. So anyway, I had contacted the breeder and I was talking about personalities and we were blah 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 back and forth, and obviously we were between green and orange. And at some point, the conversation came up that the carrier was starting to make the routes, and I was not. There's in the contract I signed, there was whole like pick up at like 8 or 10 weeks or something like that, and then they'll hold for an additional 2 weeks if needed. Blah blah blah. And so I was kind of like, oh, I still have some time. Have to arrange the carrier service ahead of time. She said do it 3 weeks at a time, and obviously it's like, oh, I still have time. And then she had brought up that they were doing a circuit, and that to get her in on that circuit, I guess I don't know if I don't know exactly why, but it needed to happen that like week, and by that week I mean I think 3 or 4 days after the day we were having our conversation. So I had to decide because puppies were already going. People had already picked puppies and they were going out to homes. So I was like, okay, I'm picking a dog now. So I sat on the phone with her. I think we talked for about 2 hours. I was asking some questions about some other stuff with the dogs, and we kind of decided that Green, or Nazik as she's now called, was the best fit. I really, honestly, I had told everybody I didn't care about anything about the dog, the appearance, the blah blah blah. They were obviously both parents are very healthy genetically and physically. They've all had their hips, joints, genetics checked into. Everybody's all good. So I was just like, I just need a dog that's going to be less neurotic than Viktor is, because he's very sweet, but he can be neurotic sometimes. And so I needed a dog that was more aloof or more independent or more less of whatever Viktor is. Again, lovely dog, amazing dog, but I needed less of him and more of something different, so that also bringing them together eventually did not accentuate his characteristics, so we get a better spread of personalities in the puppies. And so she was suggesting Green. She's very active. She's very personable, but she's not very, very. I think she described. I would say Viktor is the first dog to the door when somebody's here. She's definitely not that. She's a bit more laid back, and so decided to go with her. And I feel so far like it's been a great decision. She's apathetic to the birds, which is great. Viktor chases chickens sometimes, and that's been a concern. He's really good with bunnies, but a lot of the dogs, they'll still see chickens. It's the smell, it's the movement. They'll still see them as prey instead of as something they need to watch. And obviously, it's accentuated by the chickens not being the type of animal to really get attached to other animals. So with the hoof stock, with the rabbits, they learn, oh, this thing is my friend. There's pictures of the dogs, mouthing and kissing the sheep and the goats and stuff. And so, but not every dog does exactly that. There are some that have more of a prey drive, some that are more affectionate, etc. And Viktor definitely, I cannot trust him alone with the chicken. Ducks maybe, but with chickens definitely not. So I wanted a dog that was going to be apathetic to them. And Nazik has been completely apathetic to them. She's very respectful of them. And I think part of that comes from she's a very confident dog. She is so much more confident than Viktor was when he got here. Viktor, he was kind of scared of the hardwood floors. Certain things in the kitchen would scare him, like the dishwasher. Shiny bowls would scare him. And not like, complete terror, but he's just, kind of a little bit on edge with a lot of stuff. He's mellowed out with a lot of it, but you can still kind of tell he still has things that he doesn't like, the ears go all floppy and the "why are you torturing me" face happens with some things sometimes when he's scared. Nazik, complete opposite. So confident. Viktor Viktor wouldn't go in my bedroom. After he had a bath in the bathroom, he wouldn't go in the bathroom again. Nazi didn't care. She goes in and out of the bathroom. She goes in and out of the bedroom. She goes wherever she wants. And so very, very, very confident dog. And this is perfect. I think that I've got a really, really good potential for a good spread of personalities in the puppies eventually. And I think they're a good match. They're very complementary. So let's look into some questions in the stream here. I forget the name for the different kinds of gampr. I was doing some reading on the American Gampr Club's chain. I read about the shepherd's guards. Their appearance lean one way or another in appearance. So a lot of the different types of gampr were lost with the Armenian genocide, and just also after that, the Soviets taking dogs to kennels after the genocide, during the genocide. For breeding, for making breeds like the Caucasian ovcharka, and also just the decrease in pastoralism in Armenia as it's industrialized has, people have less of an interest in keeping the dogs. Different types of dogs, purposes are no longer needed. And there is also the flip side of things with dog fighting, where they don't use pure gompers for that a lot. They cross them with other Caucasian land races and other breeds to sort of up the aggression, the bulk, the things that are really looked for in dog fighting. Whereas gompers, it's the opposite. You want dogs that are going to defend livestock and be very capable at that, but you don't want that extra muscle because it's more energy that the dog needs to maintain its body. The dogs, they can more prone to, if they carry too much weight, they're more prone to diseases like hip dysplasia, joint issues, arthritis, which is fine if you're, breeding a dog that you're going to fight for the first 3-4 years of its life, and then you're just going to chain it up or kill it or something. But if if you're working a flock of sheep and you need reliable dogs for as long as you can keep them around, keep them healthy on whatever food you can feed them, then you're not going to be breeding for that big aggressive chunk of meat with teeth. So so there's it's porous borders with land races. There are a lot of gompers look like other Caucasian area breeds. There are some gompers that look more like Anatolians or Kangals. There's more that look like Georgian shepherds, and so with these dogs, Viktor's family, his dad definitely looks more like I think they were calling the bear hounds, the larger, hairier gompers that were used for bear hunting. And I think that Nazik's side is more the sort of traditional livestock, the sheepdogs. Although Viktor's mom is also definitely more that look. A lot of those piebald individuals, from what I've gleaned from the pictures I've looked at. So they're a blend of things. So there's enough uniqueness or distinctness in gompers that there are certain telltale haplogroups, genetic signatures that they use to distinguish them from the other Caucasian breeds. But land races, other Caucasian land race breeds, but at the same time, there are a lot of similarities to some of the other ones, and of course, they'll bring dogs from all over the place for making fighting dogs, which pure, true gompers are not a fighting breed. So where was I going with that? So her mom's very, very body shape is very wolf-like, big, floofy, furry tail, very gracile. I'll put the name of her. I'll put a link to here. Her dad is more beefcakey, with a nice brindle pattern. Oh, your mom's famous. All I have to do is type in her name. Nazik, all I have to do is type in her name, and it comes up. She comes up. So this is Nazik's mom. This is Zmir. And she actually has a gene for smaller body size, which is something Viktor doesn't have. I'm assuming that Nazi probably doesn't have that that allele because she was the biggest female puppy in the litter. So we'll see. Um, the the Gampr Club of America, and by extension the sister club in Canada, are really into outcrossing dogs and into trying to keep as much of that genetic diversity as possible. There is more of a focus stateside in matching dogs from litters to proper homes. So when you get a dog that has more resource guarding or protectiveness or anything like that, you're more likely to try and get that in the hands of somebody who needs, a property guardian dog versus you get a dog that's a lot more, I guess, nurturing and more aloof. Those they try to place with more agricultural families or purposes. And so that's kind of the focus is on getting proper dogs to different places and then sort of seeing who you can pair up, who's the least related to who, and go from there. So uh, for the stock that's been imported, it's kind of been brought from wherever in Armenia they have been able to get genetically pure gamprs from. And I believe that that's been mostly northern and western Armenia. I think I'd have to look into that again. So they're crossing dogs that may or may not have naturally, populations that may or may not have naturally mingled within the last, or not frequently mingled within the last 15,000 years. But it's to prevent getting those fighting genes into things and to preserve the huge diversity of colors and forms in the gompers. You see pretty much every from what I have seen, you see pretty much every single mix of colors and coat types and patterns in gompers, minus things that are the result of a lot of line breeding or inbreeding. So Merle is a trait that is not seen in gompers. They have found liver dogs. The person who owns Nazig's mom and dad, she's not the breeder, but she does own them. They're living at another Gomper Club member's property. She does own a direct import liver color dog, and it's one of those freak mutations that happens. And so I'm imagining they're probably going to try and keep those genes just in the population, but it's going to be very heavily discouraged. Oh, we want to breed this one to this one and try and make more liver gompers. It's more like you just sort of let the genes be in there, and then eventually, maybe you'll cross, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 years from now, somebody will cross two distantly related gompers and they'll get more liver puppies in the litter because that allele's been passed down. So that's kind of how that goes. But you see the brindles. There's, I don't know the name for all the patterns. The brindles. There's solid tan with black muzzled dogs. There's more reddish dogs. There's there's high whites. There's solid whites. There's high white piebald dogs. There's like Viktor. Viktor was the only wolf sable in his litter. He has his grandmother's coloration was wolf sable. So you got a great diversity of those traits in the dogs. And yeah, Shane, eventually you'll have unrelated heterozygous stock, and then that'll just be kind of luck of the draw. Well, not so much luck because we have genetic tools now, but it'll just be this is pretty neat. Nobody's gonna be necessarily directly breeding for that. So if you check out, I'll post Viktor's Embark profile. So if you check out the genetics for the dogs, I don't know if it'll link to this. It might be just for me as the dog owner, but there's a report on different traits, at different loci. I never really learned how they say it, loci or loci. Let's see. Gotta log in. And basically, they'll give you a coefficient of inbreeding. And let's see, share via copy link. All right, we'll put this in here. Everybody can check out Viktor's genetic profile. It's kind of bare bones. I basically just had him tested and add a bit of extra information. But yeah, so they're able to see all these different traits. You can see things like body size. You can see the results for what alleles they have, and you can see that Viktor has larger body size in every category versus Nazig's mom had a single copy of an allele for smaller body size, which may or may not express. I don't know how that works. I haven't done that much research into it, but Viktor is actually a bit on the smaller side for male gamprs, or maybe more like middle of the road. And so the club wanted to try and breed his line up a little bit. It could be because he wasn't the biggest puppy in his litter. He was definitely not the biggest puppy. He wasn't the smallest, but again, middle of the pack. And so they wanted to try and get me, a larger female and try and get the size up a little bit. They don't want huge dogs. Again, they don't want those huge, gigantic dogs, all the time. They want to try and basically, you have a really huge dog, you breed it to a really small dog, and you kind of work off of that sort of logic to even out some of the characteristics. And then, if somebody needs a big dog, they get one of the big dogs from that litter. If somebody needs a small dog, they get a small dog from that litter. So yes, I think I was going to talk about Nazig and she got the day she got here and that whole situation. So anyway, so basically I was told, yeah, you're getting the puppy's coming in like 4 days or 3 or 4 days or something. I was like, okay, this is happening now. So she was transported by Bailey's Best Care, which they kept me updated the whole trip. I received texts and videos and stuff of her the whole way up. It was so sad. She was so whiny on the way there. You could tell she wasn't loving it. She was, and by the end of it, she wasn't like sad and whiny. She was more like done with it. She was more like had all the energy she needed to let out by running around and just interacting with people. So yeah, and the she was either Sunday or Monday, and then Sunday came, and then it was supposed to be around between 8 and 10 p.m. and then you can only drive so fast so safely, and so she ended up getting here about excuse me 1:30 in the morning. So it would have been Monday basically when she got here, but it was she was in the state basically Sunday evening, and got her, and Angela was over, and we brought her inside, and she peed all over the place, and she was so happy to see us, and she was a little ball of energy and so sweet and adorable. And that's when the night from hell began. So we played with her a bit, we cuddled with her, we told her we loved her, we gave her a bath. She did not like the bath. She sang us the song of her people, but then she held no hard feelings about the bath after that. And then we tried to get some sleep, and that's the first night in a long time that I just did not sleep. She was howling and making hyena noises all night, and that whole time I think I got about a half an hour of sleep. That might be generous actually, because she just would not stop. She was missing her family obviously, and hadn't really bonded with Angela and I yet, and the weird place and all this stuff. But oh man, was it awful the next day. I felt completely dead. Even though puppies are lovely and adorable and a source of endless energy, I'm still recovering actually now. She's been getting me up to go out and for various other things every day. Well, fortunately, she seems to be either getting better bladder control or getting more adjusted to living here, and has been more independent. I actually, after I took her out for the first time this morning, I just left the back door open, and she was able, she didn't need to be handheld like Viktor did. Viktor still needs to be handheld to go to the bathroom sometimes. He wants to be accompanied outside. He won't just go out and do it on his own versus her. She's walked all the way out in the back, went all the way over to the bush poop spot, and does her thing and comes right back to the house. And I love that independence. But yeah, it was rough. It's been a rough week with the lack of sleep. I can do without a lot of things, but sleep is something I really need. So, but yeah, she's doing good. And I think it was the second day, Tuesday, or was it Wednesday? I'm losing track of time. Must have been Tuesday. I decided, she was being pretty rambunctious in the evening. She slept all day. She woke up. She was being rambunctious. Like, she needs to play with another dog. I was like, this could be a good time to introduce her to Viktor. Viktor was at my parents' house, actually. I'm debating whether or not I want to take him back there tomorrow. I brought him here for the stream, hoping he'd make an appearance, but he's pooped because they've been playing outside. But anyway, so Viktor was at my parents' house, and I called them and said, hey, I'm bringing her over. And I told my dad, you need to sit down on the ground with Viktor on the leash at the end of the hallway, and you need to hold and not move because he's going to see a weird dog in the house, and his first instinct is going to be to kill her. And so I told him to do that, and he's like, okay, yeah. And I called him and made sure everything was perfect and ready. And I walk into the house with her in my hands, and my dad, Viktor, sees her, and he doesn't know what this thing is, and he just goes crazy and pulling on my dad and jumping and snarling, and my dad's sitting there holding him for dear life. And I think I could see, and my dad's like, what am I doing? I'm just like, hold, just stay, let him smell, let him desensitize. And he's getting all worked up. And then all of a sudden the brain switches, and he smells that it's a girl dog, and he sees that she's being all submissive, and she's rolling around, and she's barking cutely back at him. And then it turns to high-pitched whining, and the tail's going, and he's jumping. And now my dad, I'll just hold on to him a little bit longer. And my dad's like, oh, he's going to hurt my leg. He's going to break my arm or whatever. And then, of course, eventually then we let him off, and I sort of body blocked for her because he was so excited to see her. He comes over, and he's sniffing, and he's humping. And that day, he humped for maybe 3 hours straight. And I had to get him off of her a couple times because here it comes. He might try and hump again. Maybe not. Maybe he's humped out. I had to get him off of her. It's like he's got to get out of the system. Only once seen only once been with a sizable female dog in his life, and that's all they did was they humped the whole time. And so 3 hours he's humping, he's tongue's hanging out, drooling everywhere, forgetting to eat and drink, and he humped for like a half an hour, goes over to the water bowl, drinks, comes back over, keeps humping, goes to the water bowl, drinks, comes back, keeps humping. So yeah, that was that, and brought him back the next day. A little bit less humping. She likes him. They play really well together. That's why they're both so pooped right now, as they were outside playing before the stream. And usually I take Viktor out, but he's got her, and they're biting faces. Hi, Allie. Good to see you. She's gotten him a couple times. Again, they love each other. Everything is great with him. He is a couple times he's started running really fast. He gets the zoomies, and it scares her because he rolled her over once while he was going at full speed, and she got really scared and she yiped. And after that, he realized, oh, I did something wrong. And then he slowed down. He's sitting there panting, and he's not trying to look at her and stuff. And, well, they get along really well, and she likes playing rough with him. You guys also get to hear the bark, the full bark of the gampr. This is his sort of miffed bark. He'll do this just at things like if there's something in my neighbor's yard at night, he'll just sort of do this as kind of it's not really as, hey dad, come check this out. If he's found something, it's more like a general warning or alert. If there was another dog that got close to the house, you hear it get really deep and more of the the lip puffing between the actual noises, so it gives it more of a snarliness. So this is more of just a general kind of a alarm bark from him. But anyways, yeah, they play great. She's gotten him a couple of times because she's got her little sharp puppy teeth now. She's grabbed his ear, she's bit his tongue, she's bit the inside of his mouth and his lip, and she's made him yipe a couple of times because she's got her sharp little puppy teeth and she's still got her little um her teething mouth, or not teething, her suckling mouth. So she's got like her palates, really well developed and hard, and she's used to like snapping and holding on. Poor mom's nipples. Oh my god, female dog nipples. Poor moms when those babies start to grow up. So yeah, but he still tries to hump her a lot. I just kind of let it happen, but if she starts to get perturbed, I'll knock him off and tell him to stop. And he's getting it out of his system, so he's starting to understand that he doesn't need to hump constantly. So he has been listening a bit better with that. But until she's big enough to really tell him off, I think it's just something I have to keep on top of. So yeah, the two of them have been doing really well, and I have a video from my parents' house. I'm gonna upload it eventually. I gotta see if it's in 4K or whatever, but he hasn't touched some of his toys and snacks at my parents' house for like over a year. Like there's the beef trachea tube things that he used to love when he was a puppy, and he kind of grew out of it. But she found one of them when we were over there, and she started chewing on it, and then she once she left it, he like came and snuck in there, grabbed it, ran off, and sat down and started chewing with it. And so I have a video of him sitting there chewing on the beef tube thing, and here she comes. She just waddles right up, and she just takes it from him like nothing. No, there's no growling, no mean looks, no nothing. She just takes it right from him and walks off with it, and he's just sort of like you just gonna let her do this to me? So it was a really cute, really funny interaction between the two of them. They get along really well. We've had one instance today of, I'm fine with her showing aggression towards him because obviously she's not going to hurt him, and she's probably always going to be smaller than he is. Maybe, I don't know for sure. So I'm letting any aggression or defensiveness from her to him just sort of go. Obviously she's not going to be anywhere on his level, physical strength wise, for at least another year and a half, if she ever even gets, close to him, just because he's a male dog. So I've been letting that pass. We've only had one instance today of food aggression from Viktor to her. They've been eating out of the same bowl. They've been drinking out of the same water bowl at the same time. He's actually like sort of backed up when she was drinking at the water bowl one of the times. Like, okay, this is good. But she had some canned puppy food that the breeder included with her, and so I opened one of those up and I set it out for both of them. And Viktor must have thought it smelled really good, and so I put it down on a plate, and there they were, both of them starting to eat it. And she was at it first, and then he came over to it, and she started doing a little puppy growl. And then he is the first time I've ever seen him do this. He started to bare his teeth and get into a little bit of a growl. And right then there was just like, no, just like went in there and stopped. He's not going to hurt her. He was just communicating. Worst thing would have happened is he would have done like the face grab, like mom dogs do with their puppies when they're acting up. I know he wasn't going to hurt her, but I just wanted to sort of reinforce the sort of order of the chain of being here. And so I did that, and then I stood. I didn't keep him off. I just told him off once, and he got the idea. He went and he stood off to the side, and then she finished up eating, and then I let him come over and eat again. But he actually held off. He wasn't trying to worm his way or anything. When I told him off like that, he stopped and he just stood there, and he was staring at me a little bit, and he was staring at the plate, and he respected that, which I was very appreciative of. So it's a lot of learning how everybody here is going to get along and interact with each other. And I think it's going very well. I think a lot of any of the problems that we're having with with him going too fast and her getting kind of spooked by that is just she's gonna grow out of it, because one day she's gonna be running right alongside him. So, but yeah, they're both there right now. You can't see, but he's right there. Oh, you can see her little paw right there. So she's right there. He's right there. So hi, Alan. Hi, the beetle guy. And we're at the special dog stream. We have the blockhead come here. Let's see if I can summon him. Hey, Victor, come here. I have something for you. Come here. Come here. Good boy, Victor. There you go. So, anybody have any particular questions about the dogs? Any specifics? Otherwise, I'll just kind of go into the trials and tribulations of things. I disturbed him. Now he's whining. Beetle guy says, sorry, I haven't been keeping up on the dog news. Did you get the grandma puppy? No, we did not get the grandma puppy. We ended up going with the green puppy. Her name is Nazig, and you can actually see her little paw right there. I would wake her up, but she's sleeping, and Victor and her have been playing all evening. She'll wake up eventually and come see us, I'm sure. I sense a disturbance in the dog. Yeah, so we ended up going with Nazig, which was the green puppy, and I think it was an excellent choice in the end. What? Come here. Good boy. There you go. So all the gamprs I've met, I have not met any gamprs that had animosity to humans after they've met you or had any sort of traits like that. Even there are a couple of dogs that Victor's breeder has that he said, what? Is your peeper out? No, his peeper's not out. Do you want attention? This is your stream. You can come get some attention if you want. Yeah, come here. You want to come here? He can be stubborn. That's another thing with gamprs is they have to want to listen to you, and it's clear that he doesn't know what he wants right now. Come here. Good boy. Here you go. So it's clear that he doesn't know exactly what he wants right now. Or he really wants me to go out there, but he's also, he respects me enough to listen to me, and I'm also bribing him with treats. But he's not very food motivated. So most of the time he listens. I'd say we're up to the point where he listens to me asking him to come or do something maybe 99% of the time. So I feel like that's pretty successful. Oh, there you go, good boy. You're jealous. You're jealous of the little pup getting all the attention. Yeah. Yeah, so they are stubborn dogs. They're very loving, very sweet to people dogs. Again, I think Darren said he only has maybe a handful of dogs that it might just be in their nature. Maybe it's just because they feel so close to him that he feels would actually go after people if they came onto his property at an odd hour. And the only time Victor showed any sort of animosity towards people was about 11:30 at night. He was outside barking at the side fence, and I went out there and I saw flashlights, and the police apparently there was a break-in or something in the neighborhood, and the police were they wanted to come look in my yard to see if the suspect had fled through there or something like that, and so he was over at the fence and he was barking at them. And it's like, that's understandable. This is like 11:30 at night. This is not something that normally happens. The context is completely weird. He knew something was up. So yeah, and that's the only time we walk by all kinds of strangers when we're going on walks, and his first reaction is like, must meet people. Always wants to meet people. And there have been a couple of times where I've had to try and stop him from jumping up to meet people because it's a big dog. And there's a couple of times that I have failed, and it's like, oh, he really wants to meet you. Do you want to meet him? As fast as I can. And he's like, oh yeah, sure. And everybody's like, oh, he's so sweet, he's so cute. Oh, he's a big boy. He knows we're talking about him. Um, so that's been my experience with him with that. Again, he is a very poor guard dog in that respect because I'm pretty sure if somebody walked in my front door right now, he would just be right over there giving them kisses. And yeah, again, another thing. It's all when I started working with the dogs because you see reports of you see a dog breed online. That's what happened with the Gompers. Is like, oh, it's an Armenian breed and blah blah blah. And oh, there's a guy near me that breeds them and blah blah blah. And you read up on stuff, and sometimes they even on the AKC site will do this. They're kind of wording it a bit differently from what I've seen, but with certain breeds they'll be like not meant for families with small children. Need an experienced owner. Blah blah blah. And then you see all this, they kind of embellish some characteristics where they'll it's like, oh, it's a loyal, obedient, thoughtful, blah blah blah, headstrong breed or whatever. And it's like, yeah, but what does that mean? When you get this dog, when you say that it's fiercely protective of its owner and loyal, does that mean that like you're gonna have to walk with a muzzle on it because it's gonna want to like kill any other human that it sees when you're walking? And so that was one of the things with the Gompers that I wanted to go over and meet some Gompers before I decided on getting one. And that experience went wonderfully. I went and I met Darren's dogs, and I get there, and those big, scary dogs, and you do get a little bit scared around them. And some of Darren's dogs are much larger than Viktor is, and so first time I was going there, I was like, I hope I'm going to be okay. I was like, I love dogs. I never, I have a way with dogs. I've never like had any problems like interacting with dogs, but still like, I hope I'm going to be okay. And so I go over there. It's intimidating because of the dogs. A lot of them, they do still have, being a landrace breed. And it is a thing that, dogs do in general, but they want to jump on you and meet you. And so that's very intimidating when you see this 120-pound dog that looks kind of like a wolf jump on you and is putting its huge paws on you and the claws and all that stuff. And so I just kind of weathered that storm and really tried. Something I like to do with dogs. I don't know how safe it is, but I feel like it's a good way to meet them and put yourself out of getting knocked over or making everybody uncomfortable. I like to get down on the ground and not lay down, but like on my knees or like on one knee and out with one other knee up and be more at their level. And I feel like that makes it a lot. You're less intimidating to them. They're not going to try and jump up to knock you over to get and see your face and whatnot. Which again, I can see how that could be a safety thing, but some dogs I think like that. You get one of my neighbors has a like 14-year-old yellow lab, and we went over to his yard to look at some plant or something a week ago. And dog's got that old dog alarm bark that's like is very deep and very a little intimidating too. And it's coming out of this 14-year-old lab, but it's like it's a dog, it can still bite me. And so I get over there and I'm standing up, and the dog is looking up at me, barking a bit, and then I get down and I'm giving the dog some love and stops the barking, and then we go back, look at the plant. The dog comes up again. It's not barking, it's just curious. And I get down, and you could just tell the second when I was petting this dog when it went from like, I'm not sure about this person, just be like, I love him. Because she laid on, she put all of her weight on me. She's rolling over on the belly, and there's the kisses and the lip licking and stuff. But anyway, so I wanted to see what the Gompers, is this, is it embellished, this stuff like they're very good with people, very good with children and all this stuff. And, I went over there and I got to spend a lot of time with the dogs and the puppies and watching how the dogs interact with each other. And, I was like, here's Viktor's mom. Here's this dog that I just met. She clearly likes me a bit and I barely know her. So let me see. She's got a toy. She got a bone she's chewing on. Can I take this from her? And I reached over and I was very cautious about it. I was like, she could growl. I could lose a hand or something. And I just reached over to this dog that I met like maybe 45 minutes prior, and I just grabbed this toy. She didn't care. It was mine. And then I think one of the puppies came over and tried to take it from her, and then she looked at it and started growling at it. I was like, okay, they understand. They know the difference between other dogs and people, and that was very important to me. And And the second time that I went there, I think I went there 3 or 4 times when I was picking Victor. The second time that I went there, it was she had um, Victor's parents were out, and then a third dog that Darren was watching for somebody. It was a dog that one of the dogs that he bred, but he was watching it for a family. They were going out of town or something, and so it was the 3 dogs when I got over there. And the second time that I met them, Victor's mom had learned that I didn't like being jumped on. I don't mind it, but it's like I would prefer not to have that happen. So she kind of picked up on that, and so when Victor's dad and the other dog came to greet me, she actually corrected both of them when they tried to jump on me. She snapped at both of them. Maybe it might have been a little bit of resource guarding, but I think she was correcting them because she didn't proceed to jump on me or monopolize me. She just, she snarled at both of them and they both cut it out. And they didn't try to jump on me any other time while I was there, any of the other repeat trips that I had there. So that was very impressive to me. I was very impressed by their effectiveness to communicate, and it was it's very intimidating to see dogs snarling and doing that to each other. But then it's also important to realize that that's how they communicate. They have these behaviors for a reason, and as long as they're not hurting each other, which none of them were, you just have to let them do this. You have to let them communicate like this. And obviously they weren't doing anything wrong. So I was very impressed by that. And of course that I could touch them everywhere. There's nothing that I have, nothing that I could do, I think would make them, I mean, maybe if I went over there again, I don't know, smelling it like Victor, I'm not 100% sure if I could get away. I don't know if I could do the same things I do with Victor that I do to Victor's parents, which involve things like, I'll pin him and I'll be playing with his face and giving him kisses and pulling on his cheeks and sticking my fingers into his mouth and doing all this stuff and biting him on the face, all these weird things I do like that. And he doesn't care. I don't know if I could do that with him, but maybe I could. But again, there's not a single bone of malice to people in Victor's body. He has never ever growled at me. Never, not even once. Never. He could have a piece of filet mignon, and I could just take it right out of his mouth, and he would, he wouldn't growl. He would like, hey, that's mine. He'd like hold on to it, but he would give it up, and he wouldn't snap. He wouldn't do anything about it. And so, so yeah, I am very impressed by that. I can go up there and give him kisses all over his face. He doesn't care. And I'm working on Nazi seems pretty good with that too. Right off the bat, I can touch her paws. I can touch all over the place. I can put my face up against hers and do all this stuff. And she doesn't show any animosity. And so, yeah, I think that in general, a lot of the dogs are is at least 12,000 years minimum, possibly as much as 15,000 years of domestication and breeding for gentleness, not just with people, but with animals too. And I think that really shows off. And so I feel like that, I'm very confident in gamprs in that respect with people. Let me read through the comments and catch up on some things here. Oh, my back. Oh, puppies are both the best thing that has ever been created and the most wretched and loathsome demons from hell at the same time. Luckily, that phase passes after a while. Victor is, until tomorrow, he's still a puppy. If you guys look at his embark right now, yeah, go ahead and look at his embark right now. Go ahead and look at his embark profile. Since he's a large breed and as a gampr, he's still a puppy to this day. Tomorrow is his second birthday, and so tomorrow he won't be a puppy. I think he'll be back at young adult, or he'll be at young adult. But yeah, he's technically still a puppy, and I feel like he's quite well behaved for that. So Nazik has been wonderful, though. There's been a bit of teething. She teethed a lot when she got here, and it was a lot of palate teething when she got here, and I think it was comfort-seeking behavior. I think it was like suckling on a nipple, basically. I was trying to sleep, and I flopped my hand over the side of the bed to let her come up, and so I could pet her and comfort her and stuff. And she was trying to teethe on she was trying to suckle on my fingers. So I think she hasn't done that since she got here. I mean, there's been teething with the teeth, but I think she was definitely seeking. It was a self-comforting behavior she was trying to do there. So no poops in the house. She hasn't pooped in the house the whole time she's been here. We are working on peeing. She seems to be learning where not to pee, but the carpet in the living room is a prime place. It's probably got some Viktor young puppy smells in it too. But I think that she'll get there eventually. I actually wonder how much of housebreaking is just a matter of time, and how much of it is like you don't really have any control over, because like Victor was a month older than she is when he got here, and Victor's housebreaking was a breeze. I think we had maybe 1 or 2 poop accidents on the carpet, and maybe only like 12 pee accidents the whole time that he was here. We haven't had any accidents since. The only problem is sometimes, because he lives mostly in the house and outside, and my parents too when they watch him. If I take him over to other people's houses, which I've done sparingly, or even if I go out in the garage with him, which you think is more of a human occupied feeling space, he'll mark things, because he doesn't know, because we don't spend a lot of time in there. He doesn't know, oh, this is where I hang out all the time. I shouldn't piss all over the place here. So yeah, his housebreaking was pretty fast, and I don't really scold them for peeing, and I didn't really scold him for peeing. I was more like, no, and pick him up and carry him outside. But again, I don't know how effective that is. I think just over time they learn, like, hey, I probably shouldn't pee all over the place here. It's instinctual. I'd spend so much time here. I shouldn't pee all over the place. I'm going to sully it up. So I appreciate that. Her head is just like right. Her head is just like right on the other side of him, right there. Paraplaneta Missionary says, my shepherd is like that. Put up a threatening display, but will love all over the person once he gets to them. Yeah, he doesn't even threaten to people. He sees somebody approaching, and the tail wags, the circular wag. He will whine. Angela has complained a couple of times about his whining and his high. Well, you guys heard his high pitched barking earlier. He does that for attention and miscellaneous other reasons. And he just loves people. He just wants to be around people. When I had a party back in February, I think it was the end of February, I had a party, and I had, like, I don't know, party to me is like 10 people. I think it was more than that. It might have been like 13 people. Whatever. They had a group of people over. Everybody was coming in, going in and out of the house, no problems. He didn't care about anybody, but it was maybe 2 or 3 in the morning, and we were doing karaoke in the living room, and my friend brought his like karaoke stereo system thing. And so it's like, 9 people in the living room at 2 in the morning when we would all normally be sleeping, and there's loud noises coming out of the stereo, and Victor was just in the middle of it all, laying on the rug. He doesn't even sleep on the rug. He usually sleeps on the love seat or in the hallway. And he's just laying on the rug, just in the middle of it all, just having the time of his life, just being surrounded by people. And Angela was asking me, like, hey, don't you think that's probably hurts his ears or something? And I was like, this is probably not as loud as being in the middle of a flock of sheep, I would imagine. And it's like, oh, good point. Oh, she's woken up. She's graced us with her presence. There she goes. I wonder if he's going to go try and hump her. Shane says, my friend is a 300-pound Rottweiler who's blind, so she acts all aggressive when you walk in, but she's so loving, she'll tackle me like a linebacker, though, just to slobber all over. There he goes. Of mostly fat. Yeah, that's the other thing with the gamprs is very narrow dogs, because they don't want, that the larger body, I guess. This is what the club site says, but you can see it in the way the dogs walk. The larger body, the rocking gait's apparently hard on the joints. It's more energetically costly. It's more efficient for the dog to be very slender and have the feet fall in place as it walks forward. Oh, there she goes again. And, I was like, yeah, this makes sense, but it's another one of those things where I felt, how embellished is this? And so I think it was like 2 weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks ago on the stream? I think maybe it was the day of a stream. One of the neighbors' huskies got out and found its way over here. Thankfully, Viktor was in the house, and I was like, okay, I don't have to save this thing for trespassing on Viktor's turf. And I knew the husky's named Zeus. He's a very cute dog. He's got those wild eye stares. It looks like he's a psychopath or whatever. It was still a cute dog. And so we slapped Viktor's. I think we put Viktor's leash. Yeah, I think he had a collar on already. Anyways, so Angel and I we went down to the house where I think that he the house I learned that he belongs. They got like a bright pink mailbox and a truck that's decked out with a bunch of pink and girl boss bumper stickers all over it. And while we were walking him, first of all, I learned how nice Viktor is on walks, because this husky was like pulling forward with all. I mean, they're bred for that. They originally bred for that, but he's pulling with all of his might on the leash, and I'm just like, I think Viktor's. When I walk Viktor, sometimes it's like I feel like oh, he's so misbehaved. Oh, he's pulling me a little bit, and then I walk this husky that's like a third of his weight, and I'm like, oh my god, Viktor is so good on the leash. But then watching the dog walk, you see like the body proportions are such that they kind of like, even a dog that's bred for like pulling like a husky, and that's relatively healthy breed in terms of like skeletal function. Even as it walks, you can see how they waddle basically. Their feet don't always, back feet and front feet footprints don't always overlap. They kind of waddle or crawl walk as they move forward. And then you watch Viktor at a comfortable gait. It's very smooth and very elegant. It's like, yeah, okay, I see it. Yeah, I understand now. Watching his footprints in the snow when we go out, and it's like one line of footprints because his back feet fall perfectly in with the foot in front of them. And so I was like, yeah, I understand now. Door, says Chain. The beagle guy says, what species of cockroach is that on the floor side of the door? That is the gampr armeniacus on the floor there. It's a very primitive roach species. Megaloblatta longipennis, says that the beetle guy, means long wings. Yeah. The long feather, I think, was the direct translation, but you guys get it. Can be another 2 years. The Gampr Club of America. I don't know what the AKC is like nowadays. I've never this whole dog thing is completely new to me. Dog breeding, dog husbandry, completely new to me in this sort of capacity. So I have no idea what the AKC is like nowadays. But get all these things with different breeds of dogs having different illnesses, hip dysplasia in labs, and bloat and other large breeds, and all these weird issues that have, a lot of them have very direct genetic causes. So I have no idea how the AKC runs things. I'm sure some breeds are micromanaged more fiercely than others, but I have to say, from everything I've seen from the Gampr Club of America, because Gampers are not a standardized breed with AKC. It's a nymph. Thank you, Bunklo Mimus. I love that. Chain says, okay, true. Not until his birthday tomorrow. Yeah, 2 years tomorrow. Since they're not a standardized breed, I don't know. Through the AKC, the club is basically doing its own thing with the Gompers that they've imported straight from Armenia and their progeny. And so it's very, very strict what you can and cannot do with the dogs. You can't cross them to other breeds. If you cannot keep your dog for any reason, the breeder must be willing to either take the dog back. The owner has to pay for transport, but they have to be willing to take the dog back or aid in the placement of the dog. So there's a lot of accountability with these dogs. For breeding, they don't want the dogs to basically be bred more than 3 times in their life, with the exception being if they end up having smaller litter with a single other partner, then they kind of make an exception to be able to breed the two of them again. But they don't really want any particular clade of traits being fixed in terms of the physical appearance. So there's a lot of outcrossing going on to no cousin to cousin or anything like that yet. Maybe that'll be the case in 30 to 40 years, 30, 50 years, because the U.S. has banned the importation of dogs from Armenia and 100 other countries right around the advent of COVID. There does not seem to be any sign of that being lifted. So we may be everything. You can do a very expensive roundabout thing where you can import a dog from Armenia to Canada, and then it must be quarantined there for something like 2 weeks, and then it can be brought to the United States. But that's obviously a very expensive process, and so I doubt that anybody's going to be willing to do that in the near future. So basically, the stuff that we have in the States, unless it's coming from Canada, unless it's a dog produced in Canada, are basically all that we have to work with in terms of genetics. So. But yeah, so that's another component of keeping the gamprs is they can only be bred so many times. I'm sure if there was some special situation, you could get an exemption from the club with this, but a lot of it's in the contract signed when receiving a gampr, and then they all must be registered through the club as well. So. But as far as other things, they're not necessarily lax about the genetic testing and the hips and elbows and all this other stuff. But there's kind of a tier system to what sort of accreditation you get depending on how much effort you put into the dogs. And so the people who are doing getting the livestock certification, the health and fitness certification, the hips and elbow x-rays at 2 years of age or older to make sure that the dog has good quality joints, even if they have good genetics, also making sure from a direct physical evidence perspective that they have good quality bone structure and whatnot. And the genetic testing, which of course I feel is the most powerful tool that we have for this sort of thing, because how many things the classic way with pedigrees is you make sure that the whole line is pedigreed and they don't have a history of this or history of that and blah blah blah. And now you can just you don't even have to worry about that per se. You just lift the veil and see, oh hey, these two dogs are carriers of this thing. We probably shouldn't breed them together, or we should not breed them together. So you can do that, or oh hey, we really like this dog, but it's got this copy of this debilitating illness, but we still want to get puppies out of it because it's flawless in show or something. How about we breed it to this dog that we've tested that is not a carrier of any of this? So we'll just end up with a bunch of hets, and then people can keep out crossing. Kyle's dog importation auction stream. Oh man, don't even make me think about that happening one day. Eventually, there'll probably be a Kyle's gampr and goat pasture fencing auction stream. Probably that's probably gonna be the big one. I'm sure. See how that goes. So, yeah, I don't know if you can brown box a dog. You might be able to. Maybe you could. You go, oh, this is my dog. You go to Armenia. Oh, this is my dog, and try and bring it back. But, yeah, I don't think that's too viable. So, yeah, I'm trying to think anything else. Any other direct stuff to touch on? And I guess open up for questions. Anybody got any questions about Gompers? I love how I kind of planned the stream around like, oh hey, I'll like bring them into the room and they'll be here the whole time, and it's more like just me sitting off to the side with Viktor just in the camera shot there, just laying around. Any other questions? People can brown box tigers. I had no idea you could brown box tigers, but I guess you just throw the dog or the tiger on a cargo freighter and just say that it's a Walmart stuffed animal order or something, and you get it in that way. But I don't want to do that to a dog. It was hard enough on Nazig coming in on the transport system. You dress the dog like a tiger. I like the way you think there, Loki. Anybody out there considering getting a Gomper eventually? You know, not even from me, but just anybody out there? Anybody else got some dog breed stories or something you want to share? Um, apparently, I should bring this up. Apparently, Nazig's mom can open doors. Heather kind of Heather, if you, I don't know if the Gomper Club presidents can ever listen to this stream, but if you do, it was a very long-winded story you told me, but basically told me that apparently her mom was able to open up doors and get in and out of the house, and so. Are there any other types of Gomper other than the Armenian Gomper? No, Armenian. It's kind of redundant to say Armenian Gomper because there's just all the Gompers are from Armenia. So, um, which also is an interesting thing was at first I was under the impression I've read two conflicting accounts here, and I should actually probably ask the Gomper Club president about this. I've heard two different stories on what Gomper means. I've heard one that it's the Armenian word for sort of a large hairy creature, and that's the one that I learned originally. And then I went into Real Armenia Hours and I looked at some sites that were poorly translated into English from Armenian, or people who had basically a fair understanding of English who were just providing some Armenian cultural things. And that website claimed that Gomper is a portmanteau of two Armenian words, meaning I come, I kill. And so I'm curious which of those is more correct. So Loki says, my cat can open doors. It's a new kind of hell. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine what level of intelligence Nazi could get to. Maybe she'll be wickedly smart like her mom. I kind of hope she's not too smart, but she's shown some pretty good signs of intelligence. She's learned to crawl up onto one of the rabbit hutch things in the backyard so that her head is at Viktor's head level so that she can like bite him straight on instead of having to jump up and bite his lips. And so that kind of tells me like, yeah, maybe she's going to be a smart cookie. This could be a problem. Shane says, I find them really interesting, but I'm looking for a collie German Shepherd mix. My mom had a collie when she was younger, border collie. What's the dog that's a psychotic creature that people say nobody should keep unless you live on a farm? I mean, it was an Australian Shepherd or one of the collies, maybe. Maybe it was an Australian Shepherd. But yeah, man, I've some of those dogs, like watching some dog obedience or just some dog, just dog training videos on different types of dogs. A lot of those those like Australian shepherds and whatnot, they just seem so neurotic. They seem to have the most issues, and like in terms of like anxiety, and it's probably because they want to be worked, they want to be running constantly. I can see that in Viktor when he doesn't get enough exercise. But like even you see the dogs run around this huge like dog park lot for hours and hours, and they come back and they're still wired, and it's kind of crazy. So Viktor actually has some cousins that are German Shepherds. You know, somebody in Germany got their hands on a Gomper at some point in the last 30 years and figured, oh, this would be great to cross into German Shepherds. Probably, I would assume they did it probably to get the size up to get some size into their lines. And because a lot of all of his embarked DNA tests are just it's like gampr, gampr, gampr. You get all the way down to the bottom of the test for like relatives, and it's like, oh, fifth cousin, twice removed, German Shepherd, blah blah blah, all the way at the bottom. So you can see it. They got like his little bandito mask and stuff like that. Alan has the little white crusty gampr that all Asian moms have. I'm not exactly sure what breed. There's so many of those little toy breeds. Like, I don't know what the one your mom has is, but there's so many of those little ratty looking breeds. Some of them are cute, but like, I've never really been a fan of the ones that there's like, I remember when I was a kid going over to like friends' houses and they'd have one of those little tiny dogs. And it'd be like, oh, that's Peaches. She's 18 years old and she has a skin condition. And the dog like is falling apart before your eyes, but it's still barking at you. I still obviously love the dogs and love giving them attention and stuff. But you just sort of look at it, it's like oh man, these things need like constant grooming to look like they're not covered in like feces, basically. Braden has have a border collie Pyrenees mix, and he's a handful. Yeah, I've seen some videos of Great Pyrenees where there's some that are just the chillest dog, super laid back, unaffected by anything. And then there's been some videos of Pyrenees that are more like Viktor, where it's like, yeah, they get a little like wired streak going through them sometimes. They're kind of a hell in a handful and more. Shane says, how did that go? I was thinking, I have no idea. It just tells me, his relatives, his blood relatives. You can even look it up on that Embark link that I put up earlier. But yeah, I don't know how it would go because gamprs, again, are not known for their obedience. They really have to want to listen to you. And the club goes out of its way to mention that Armenian gampr dogs should never be trained for attack dogs. They should never be trained to attack on command. I'm curious as to exactly why that is, but part of me is also like, yeah, they are huge dogs in the wrong hands, or with a poor trainer who thinks that they're getting the ultimate self-defense dog. I could see how that could go not very well. So, but I really don't think I could train Viktor to attack somebody if I wanted to. He's just so nice to people. Hyla says, I have a border collie Australian Shepherd mix. Would not recommend unless you have a lot of work for them to do. Very neurotic. Yeah, even Viktor can be neurotic sometimes. And you know what? I think a big part of Viktor's neuroticism was from being the only dog in the house. And there's watching some dog training videos. It's like there's I play handsies with him. I let him bite my hands and I pull on his face and all that stuff. But to a point, as a human, you can't. There's interactions and there's play and behaviors that for one, certain behaviors should not do with your dog, but things that you just can't do with your dog that lets them to get out all that energy and all that extra, that stress and pent upness. And that's why I was really looking forward to getting another dog for him, because I was like, when they have these dogs, they have a job and that's good. And Viktor's has the job of, washing the yard and stuff, but he wants to be in here with me like he is right now. Or at least he used to want to be just with me all the time. But, on top of that, with the gamprs, they never just have one gampr. You never just throw one gampr out with the sheep. They always have, for large flocks of sheep, they'll have they'll have like 8 or more dogs out there with them. And then all the pictures of the dogs, it's groups of dogs. You've got multiple dogs together, so it's very unnatural to just have one gampr. They're used to socializing with other dogs. They love people too, but I feel like a lot of that extra energy he really needed to get out, and not just the humping, but just the play and the stimulation and visual and scent, all the stuff he needed to get from another dog. And so that's why, I saw her beating him up, and I was like, this is exactly what I hoped for. Jojo Bug says, Shetland sheepdog and Finnish Spitz over here. I gotta see what a Shetland sheepdog looks like. Dogs are just great. We don't deserve dogs. Humans do not deserve dogs. We should consider ourselves fortunate that dogs domesticated us and that we have them in our lives because we don't deserve them. It's amazing to see how many different dogs people have here. 2 wire-haired pointing griffins. Jojo, those are very cute dogs. I really like the Sheltie. Pointing griffin. Look at that. So many different dogs. On the subject of large hairy creatures, says CS. Welcome, CS. Do you keep any tarantulas? I am 100% tarantula free at the moment. 100%. The timetable for tarantulas is kind of boring for me for growing a lot of them up. And just sort of I like things you can propagate together and in a colony and sort of go at your own pace with some things. Maybe one day I'll get back into more tarantulas. I actually have more true spiders than I have tarantulas. Maybe one day I'll get back into them. I don't know. I'm kind of pretty deep in the insect hole at the moment. So I don't think I'll ever go really, really hard into them, but maybe. So, yeah, they're weird dogs. There's a part of me that almost wants to, like, one day, because with this whole landrace breed thing is, one day maybe just get like try and import a village dog from somewhere, like, and I'm not talking like San Fran or Florida or somewhere in Florida or something like that, but like see if I could get a couple of like street dogs from like India or something like that, or somewhere in the Middle East and or Africa, and work with those. And curious, how that that it's interesting, because a lot of those dogs, they've been around major civilizations. It's not just a hundreds of years thing. It has been thousands of years for a lot of those dogs. They've just been living around humans like that for thousands of years, and most of them, I think, can be they're genetically domesticated, just varying degrees of feral. But I think most of them can be further tamed. If you had puppies and you raised them as you would just a pet dog. So I was curious about that. One that seemed a bit more viable than maybe getting an Indian street dog, which also, there's some human health hazards there too, so I don't know how viable that is. But one that seemed very realistic to me was the Carolina dogs, the dogs that were found roaming in the Georgia Carolina border area in the Pine Barrens, which there's genetic evidence that suggests that they are at least in part descended from the original Native American village dogs from that area. And they're also very interesting, thinking on a lot of this stuff with dogs and how they've been everywhere with humans for maybe tens of thousands of years. We have evidence for at least 15,000 years, but maybe it goes back even before then. Again, dogs are the Native Americans, the people of Central and South America too. The implication that despite what may be promoted in conservation nowadays, that dogs are in part native to the Americas. Depends on how you view the Native Americans of North and South America, whether or not they would be, from an objective biological standpoint, considered a native species of those places. I would argue that. And then, further from that, then what about the dogs they brought with them? What about the dogs that went feral on the continents? And they count the dingo. They count dingoes as being an indigenous organism of Australia, despite arriving with humans. And so, if you use that logic, basically the dogs of the Americas would be native too. And so, it's interesting to think about, because I know people want to always exterminate feral dogs here and there and whatnot, and there's the ecological implications. But they technically they are native. It's not the same lineage, although with the Carolina dogs it is. CS says, I used to be a veterinary technician, and the large herd protecting breeds from the northern Middle East and Eastern Europe are freaking wild. Caucasian shepherds are like lions, incredible power. Again, you're looking at one of them right here. What country are Caucasian shepherds from? Probably further north of So yeah, depending on whomst you ask, they some of them group some authorities, some quote unquote authorities, group the Gompers in with the Caucasian Shepherd, but the Caucasian Ovcharka was definitely a creation of the Soviet Union, combining dogs from all over Eastern Europe and the Middle East and the Caucasians. So again, with the Gompers, they have a very unique genetic signature that you can take mixed breeds and you can see the different haplogroups, and you can see one that is definitively Gomper, which is why you can use the same tests and tell them apart from Anatolians and Kangals and Georgian Shepherds and all that stuff. So yes, there's one of them right there. There he is, in all of his glory, sleeping. Yeah, his dad. I was very impressed by his dad. It's one of those things where it's you kind of see something and you're like, yeah, I want this in my life. His dad's a very impressive, very beautiful animal. Huge dog. So much fur. Well, maybe he's dreaming. I think somebody farted. Or hopefully not an accident on the carpet. I'm going to go see where Nazik is. No accidents. Nazik just moved under the table in the kitchen. I'll bring her back in here towards the end of the stream or once she wakes up. But yeah, beautiful, powerful animals. And so loving. And again, to obey you, they need to. They really have to want it. It is, if Viktor does not want to do something, him and I go over obedience over and over again. I've done all kinds of approaches. I've done the positive rewarding. There have been some things where I've tried to take a bunch of approaches to try and figure out the best way and the most effective way to get him to listen and whatnot. And sometimes it's the brain is not there. They're not going to listen to treats. So if we're outside and he's getting really worked up over something, I'm obviously very pissed at him in the moment. Like I'm carrying a chicken around, or I'm carrying a pot and he's jumping and trying to get my attention, or just being being a little punk. I'll stop, I'll grab him by the scruff and I'll tell him to sit, or I'll tell him to do something like that, and I'll just wait and just wait, wait for him to do it, and then eventually he'll do it. And it's like, okay, you're free, And then other times he runs up and like, well, sit, do this, I'll reward him, good boy, and all that stuff. So I try to do a lot of everything. And again, I feel like the 99% of the times he listens, and sometimes he thinks about it. Like earlier when I was offering, even I have these lovely beef lung treats in my pocket, and he still, even though he was clearly going to get a reward, he still had to think, do I really want to go in that room? Do I really want to listen to him right now? But again, 99% of the time, even if it takes him a second to think, he'll do something. LC, hi, hello. Here's the Gomper stream. There's the Gomper. The other Gomper is in the kitchen, in the kitchen under the kitchen table sleeping. I'm going to drag her back in here towards the end of the stream. But yes. Oh my God, the fur. Reading on the club website at first, the lines that stuck with me are once a year, the fur is shed in large patches like a wild animal. And if he hadn't gone over to my parents and my mom wasn't complaining at my dad all day, like, Carl, that he's shedding. He's looking at me. He's itching. You gotta help him. Nancy, I'm busy. Why do I have to do this? Why can't Kyle do this? But Viktor had these big side kind of like 10-gallon pants on of the fur that he was shedding on his sides. And okay, Nazik just woke up. She's looking around. She's eating a little bit of food. I'm going to go take her out and try to get her to pee because this is usually when she pees. So I'm going to go try to get her to pee outside. So we will be right back, everybody. Nazik, let's go potty. Come on, guys, let's go potty. Come on, let's go potty. Out in the yard, not in the house. I'll call you when I need you. I knew it. She peed. The second we got outside, she peed. Yeah, the fur. Viktor is just a fur tornado. And again, she sheds once a year in the spring in these huge clumps. Especially it's most noticeable on his butt, where he's got these sort of swirls or rosettes of fur, and it just comes. You can just pull it out, and it just keeps coming. But also through the winter, there's just so much fur everywhere. It's just, I don't know. I've never had, I know people have like, my uncle had a Samoyed. There are Harrier breed dogs. Fur from him. Nazik, are you coming to see us? Yeah? You're coming to see people? Hi. Say hi. Say hi, everybody. Say hi. Thank you for helping me come here. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. I love you guys. I'm a cute little pup. I can't do anything wrong. I was mischievous the other morning and started biting on Kyle's fig tree. Kyle did not appreciate me biting on his fig tree branches, so he put the anti-puppy spray on it. Yeah, he did. You're cute. You win the treat for being cute. Oh, we're summoning the other one. I did not see that coming, puppy. Yeah. Again, everybody, we went with the beefcake puppy. We did end up going with the beefcake. She was a little beefcake. You may also notice she looks particularly scruffy or like scraggly on her neck, and that's from Viktor constantly licking her and putting his mouth on her neck and trying to mount her. She's just drooling and dripping all over the place on her. Or if we could trap both of them in here. I love her forehead shape. That's another thing. One other thing. Viktor's breeder did not crop his ears. And Nazik, as is the tradition, standard, whatever the club wants to call it, does have cropped ears. In the future, I don't know if I will crop the ears again by the club standard. I'm supposed to. People are supposed to. There's varying opinions on that. They do it when they're young, so it's just cartilage, so there's zero pain. You don't even have to restrain the dog or anything. The main reason that the cropping is because gamprs, uncropped gamprs, they actually have really huge floppy ears. And so in the wilds of Armenia, where there are hyenas and other dogs, wolves, and bears, the big floppy ears it's like the first thing that predators will go to when they go for the neck of the dog. Is they'll grab those to get a hold on and be able to attack the animal. It's an easy way to subdue is to go for the ears since they're so sensitive. So they crop them. In Armenia, they crop them really, really close to that, like super, like basically at like the skull. And so Nazi does not have that intensity of cropping, but a significant portion of her ears have been taken off. I've seen some people who crop them at basically at the fold, which I can kind of see that too. And so the dogs end up with more like rounded bear ears when they grow up. They crop ears on fighting dogs too, but obviously that's not what this is for. But it does show you the reason. There is a practical reason for it. So I don't know if I'll do that. What I'll probably end up doing is I'll strike some sort of compromise with with where the dogs go to. I'll say the ears are not cropped, but if your dog is going to be working in an area with large predators such as wolves or bears, as they'd be in North America, or mountain lions, I suppose, if your dog's gonna be working in these sort of areas, then I will pay for part of the cropping procedure for the dog. When the time comes when this decision is made or whatever. So again, would I prefer to have the dogs with their full ears? Yes. Will I crop the dogs in the future? I don't know. But I obviously I understand that. I think it makes more sense to me than a lot of the dogs that have their tails docked. I never really figured. Did anybody here know exactly why that is? I know they do it with like border collies and stuff, and like with Rottweilers. I never really figured out why, or maybe Dobermans too. I never figured out why they crop the tails. And I do know some dogs have naturally short tails too, like corgis. I think corgis I think do without the cropping. Yeah, if anybody knows why they dock the tails, working hazard. I'm curious exactly like to what exactly the hazard is, because that's the reason again. Well, the gamprs, it's a working hazard with wolves, and of course they're dogs. So they have floppy ears that dangle down to the sides. They don't have upright ears like wolves do. So yeah, it makes sense that the dogs, you grab the ear, they just rip it, tear it. You don't have access to state of the art veterinary science out in the sheep camp in Armenia. So it's better to just take the whole ear off and completely remove that from the equation. So, LC says, I got a rash from holding my giant blue millipede. Have that ever happened to you? No, I've never really gotten a rash from holding millipedes. I've got my hands stained plenty of times. CS says, I've got a little mutt who doesn't hardly shed and a big black lab. The lab produces so much hair, I can't believe I vacuum every single day and fill the canister. Yeah, one note I should say about Viktor, I don't know if it's a thing with all gompers, if it's a coat type sort of thing, because all gompers do have a double coat, so a dense undercoat, and they have the more protective overcoat. With the guard, with Viktor, it's very noticeable with his guard hairs, but he's not for his size, he's not a very dirty dog. When he gets, go outside and he'll get his paws muddy, and he'll get dirt all over, put his face in sand, all this stuff. He does track stuff in the house, but when he's gotten his entire legs like up to like his, I guess, past the dog elbow, covered in like dirt or mud or something when we're outside. Within about a half an hour, it'll just be gone. It'll just have fallen off. And I think that having the very dense undercoat and then the guard hairs, a lot of that stuff. A lot of the dirt and grime, it just falls off of him when he's outside. He doesn't necessarily track it in the house. It doesn't really stick to him. He doesn't really ever come in and go, oh, you're getting so dirty or something like that. CS says trail cropping started because dogs would get hurt running through fields. CS, why? What do you know what type of hurting? Also, removal of dew clauses again to prevent injury with working dogs. Yeah, it's interesting because I don't think they crop the dew clause in Armenia, and even more interesting is with there's a huge diversity of dew claw numbers on the dogs. So Viktor's dad has 2 dew claws on each rear foot and dew claws on his front feet. Viktor has dew claws on his front feet and his back feet, and Nazik only has dew claws on her front feet naturally. So, well, the thing is, I know sometimes they say, well, sometimes the dew claws are only attached by a little thing of cartilage or something like that. And I was like, I don't know. When we had a lab, we had her dew claws removed. But when I felt with Viktor and I felt his dew claws, there's actually bone through both of his. So they're not sort of loosely attached. They're very firmly attached. And he does use them for stuff. He uses his front dew claws to clean his eyes a lot, I've noticed. And he'll also use them kind of like thumbs when he's manipulating objects sometimes. It doesn't, the object manipulation thing doesn't seem all that important. But definitely when he's cleaning his eyes, he'll really get the pad in there in the corners. So I just decided, I'm not going to do anything about it. I also don't cut his nails. His nails get worn down pretty well on their own. And I noticed, you think the dew claws would just grow out of control. Nazik is right there, so I'm going to lower this. You think that the dew claws would grow out of control, but I let his dew claws on his rear legs get really long, like to the point where my cousin, who has a couple dogs, she's like complaining, when are you going to cut his dew claws? It's like, they don't do it in Armenia. Like, well, he's going to get him caught and you have to pay vet bills and whatever, So I just waited and saw what happened. And one day, one of them just, the whole nail, maybe like a 3/4 of an inch of nail just fell off. There was still the base of it with the quick and everything, and it just fell off. And then a couple of days later, the other one just fell off. And I was like, okay, so that's how it goes. Bunklo Mimus asked, why haven't they been bred for non-floppy ears? I don't know what the genetics of ear floppiness are, but it might be dominant over having erect ears. And gamprs do, they have varying degrees of wolf genes in them, not just from mating with wolves, which I guess does happen with some frequency out in the wilds. But because they are a primitive landrace breed, they've retained a lot of genetic similarities with wolves that have not been selected for in more, I guess, standardized breeds. And so if you check out Viktor's Embark profile, which I listed further up in the chat, you can look at his level of wolfiness. I think he's 1.2 or 1.8, which they list as medium. I've looked at some profiles for gamprs that are registered through the club, and I think the highest I saw was somewhere between 4 and 12%. So in the 12%, there could have been, a wolf ancestor within the last couple of generations of the dog before it was brought into the country. But for the most part, it's genes that they've just kept that other breeds have lost. So I would think, you could get perky ears from the wolves, but again, with dogs, it might be dominant or co-dominant or something to erect ears. And also, yeah, Hyla says probably because hot cropping is easier. That's another thing is, just they can do something physically to alleviate that situation. And obviously, I guess it was never a big enough factor, debris or something or ear infections happening to the dogs that would discourage them from doing it. 002, welcome, says, I recently learned about the appalling procedure of devoicing a dog. Sweet man-made horrors beyond my comprehension. Yeah, again, I can see some of these things with practical perspectives with dogs. And if you wanted a dog that didn't bark, just get like one of the dogs that don't bark, like a Basenji or something. I mean, there's so many options, but like, I know a lot of people who like on the, I'll go walking on the block with Viktor and hear people, the dog will start barking and they'll just be like, shut up, quiet, shut up, or something. It's like, it's a dog. It's literally one of the first things you learn about a dog is that it barks. It's like first thing is when you're in like preschool, is like, what sound does the dog make? Oh, here we go. There's the hump session. As bark, it's like it's a dog. It's what it's gonna do. Again, if you want something, get like a Shiba or a Basenji, or get some sort of primitive, unrelated dog breed that's not inclined to bark or doesn't have a voice. If that's a big deal for you, and I'm sure somebody wanted to, you could breed those genes into its own breed. If you wanted a larger dog that was more of a modern breed, you could breed that more quietness into another dog. So we'll look at them. I think they want to play. I think she wants to play with him, but he wants to hump. Yeah, I think she woke up. She wants to play. Look at that cute little tail. That's another thing. Again, with the diversity of gompers, the diversity of body shapes and traits and features. Again, so many different variations in dew claws, like even just within Viktor's family, variations in patterns, variations in coat basal colors, variations in other traits. So there are some. Viktor's grandfather is actually a dog that has a natural genetic bobtail. So his grandpa's just got a little stubby tail, and it's genetic. Um, and then you've got like his dad who has a sickle tail. I'm not sure if Nazik is going to have a sickle tail or a curled tail. Viktor has a full curled tail, and I'm wondering if she's going to have a sickle tail because she has the little whatever that's called. She's like a sickle shape right now, but I think Viktor's tail was still kind of floppy before it finally got really curled. But there are dogs with straight tails too, in Gompers. So there's a lot of variation in some of those physical traits. CS says the floppy ears are a genetic trait that seems to be linked to domestication, submissiveness in dogs. The Soviets basically redomesticated. Oh yeah, the Silver Fox Project. Yeah, yeah. I think it was to like cortisol levels or something like that. But the thing is, it must be a very. It's probably a very. It's probably directly related to submissiveness to humans because some of these dogs are they're still very aggressive to other dogs or to other animals, even though they have floppy ears. So it's one of those things where there could be some weird brain pathway that's directly associated with it that recognizes human smell or human shape or something like that. Who knows exactly? But then you have plenty of dogs that have naturally pointed ears that are domesticated and submissive, like Shibas, and I don't think German Shepherds naturally have pointy ears. I think Chihuahuas do, where they respect humans, but they have genetically pointy ears. So, wonder what they're doing. What kind of trouble they're getting up to. Exotic Wilderness, just glad to have you finally joining us. And right as Nazi has woken up too, I think they're off playing in there. Viktor might be trying to hump. Nazi might be trying to play in the living room. 002 says, my favorite breed is the Finnish Lapland. Our summers are far too hot for them, unfortunately. Wait, Jojo, isn't that the breed that you said you have? Or was it Finnish Spitz, was it, I think? So, but yeah, Gompers. I see the videos of the Gompers in the old country, and regardless of how dense their coat is or how big it is, all the dogs are out in the baking sun. No matter in the cold, in the heat, they're just all sitting there, just laying down with their tongues out, panting. And so I think actually Armenia is at the same latitude as Michigan, so their summers, and I think it's more of a continental climate than Michigan is even. So I think their summers are even hotter than ours. It's more like on the Great Plains, I'd think. Probably not as humid though. But something I've seen Viktor do when he gets too hot, it's really interesting, is he'll start digging down and he'll sort of get a scrape going, and then he'll start hauling like piling up the dirt in like a splayed out pattern behind the hole he's dug, and then he'll lay on it, and he's clearly pulling up the cooler dirt from underneath the surface of the soil and then laying down in it. And it's got to be related to temperature because he does not do that on cold or cool days or during the winter at all. 002 says, on an insect-related note, does anyone keep Myrmecophilus in captivity? On my hike last week, I saw a bunch that, but considering they're all apparently obligate ant shed eaters, I decided against collecting. Yeah, did somebody determine what they eat? Or something? Ant sheds? Yeah, because I've kept Myrmecophilus alive. Nobody seems to have bred them though. And they're probably you could probably find some substitute for that. You could feed them maybe like pre-killed roaches or mealworm exoskeletons or something. But has it really been determined that they eat exclusively like ant sheds, like shed skins from ant larvae or pupae? CS says, having worked with thousands of dogs, I'm a big supporter of dogs that are so mixed you can't even recognize their ancestors. Yeah, well, it is what it is. They're dogs. They're gonna get moved. They've been moved around and crossbred and done all this stuff with for millennia and probably before we even know what was happening. Um, but I do butt heads with the idea that mixed breeds are intrinsically more healthy than other dogs. I think it's more of a mixed breeds are healthier than line bred dogs that have not been um, thoroughly checked for genetic issues or who have been more irresponsibly, or not necessarily irresponsibly, but less thoroughly vetted before or during the breeding process. Because again, with the gamprs, um, there's porosity to the borders of the breed, and there's going to be mixing with other dogs that have been brought through the mixing with wolves at various points in time. Um, but there's only one issue that some gompers have, and it's a very easy to fix issue, and that is degenerative myelopathy is one of the very few genetic illnesses that gompers can have. But fortunately, it's very simple to do a genetic test for that disease. And so it's very easy to not breed two carriers together, and it's very easy to breed the trait out of a line also using the genetic testing before pairing. Another issue, not an issue, but another thing that gompers have. Both of Nazi's parents have it, and Victor's grandfather has it, but it was not transmitted to his mother. Is there is a liver enzyme called ALT. It's aminolitherus thyronase or something like that. Can't remember the exact name of it, but um, basically causes the dogs to have, there's nothing intrinsically wrong with this, but their liver metabolism, or not liver metabolism, they have a lower expression of certain liver enzymes than is considered normal for other dogs. It's not there's nothing wrong with it. They're not, it's not causing them any sort of issues. It's just sort of a natural variation that's caused by this one allele. And basically, the only thing that I was informed is that uh, it's just if the dog is a carrier for that, or if the dog has two copies of it, or anything like that. If that allele is involved with the dog, is that its liver enzymes may test lower at a healthy level if you're doing blood work and you're keeping an eye on that. Is that the dog's natural the presence of these liver enzymes will be lower, even though the dog is completely healthy. And that if the liver enzymes appear elevated on blood work, it may be a sign that there's something wrong with the liver. So it's basically just readjusting your expectations when medically examining the dog, and not an indicator of any sort of poor health or anything like that. So that was interesting. It's like, okay, this is fine. But yeah, I think a lot of it is it's just kind of line breeding without seeing if the dogs that are being used are healthy genetically. So there are some solid breeds, but for me personally, I like mixed breeds. Yeah, mixed breeds are great. I've never had a mixed breed dog. I've liked the idea of maybe what what what's up? What do you want? What are you doing? Who are you talking to? Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me? Nazi, here she comes. Hi, how are you, sweetie? How are you, sweet pup? Oh, are you jealous? You can come in here and get love too, Victor. Nothing's keeping you out there other than yourself. Oh, she's so cute. She is so cute. Oh, look at this little girl here. You are so cute. You get a treat for being very cute. Big scary dog. Big scary whiny dog. Aren't you cute? Are you the boss? Are you the boss of the house now? Yeah. Are you the alpha? Are you the top dog? Yeah. Are you the top bitch now? Yeah. You're very cute. Viktor, come here. Come here. What? Come here. Perfect, guys. Perfect illustration of their personality differences. Now, Viktor, for some reason, at this moment, is very hesitant to come in the room. And what does Nazi do? She just walks right in like she owns the place. No questions asked. She just walks. I didn't even call her. She just came in because she wanted to. And Viktor, he's just something. He doesn't want to come in. Something doesn't smell right. Something doesn't seem right. And he would prefer to sit outside and make it everybody else's problem. Come here, Viktor. Come here. He just really doesn't want to come in here. He just wants to sit outside and complain while she steals the show. She's very cute. I got to catch up on these here. I could be wrong, but it's complex because like I breed all kinds of genetic abominations of roaches and isopods, and like I do have a very anthropocentric view of like things, but like, oh, she's comforting him or playing with him, and here you go. He's going for the hump, maybe. Were you afraid to come in here with her? Were you afraid? Here you go. Again, such a weird dog sometimes. You are such a weird dog, but you're very cute. You are very cute. Yeah, he's my original baby boy. He's my original baby boy. He's a good boy. He's a goober. Tell me he's a goober all the time. He's a good boy. And there he goes. So yeah, pugs, that's a tough one because like, yeah, I look at a pug as like, I would never want to own one of these things. I think it is a bit shallow to be kind of obsessed with the way that they look, but like they're dogs again. Like they kind of domesticated us, and then we kind of like domesticated them, and it's just this whole complex relationship. And I don't know what he wants. I don't know what he wants. He's more whiny than the puppy, honestly. I mean, he's a huge puppy, but he's still more whiny than she is. Yeah, it's a complex thing because there are some biological parallels to it. Like look at those aphids that we're gonna give him a second here. Like all you can see is this little white check mark in his tongue. Look at those aphids that certain types of aphids, or really plant hoppers. Certain species of ants, they've basically domesticated some of them and they raise them underground. And it's like those things, from like a biological perspective, are completely dependent on the ants for their health, for their food, for their well-being. And it's like, you know, some of them, they have like vestigial legs and they have just like no body pigmentation. And you just kind of think like, you know, oh man, that's like gotta be. What? What? What did you see? What? Maybe she's doing something and he doesn't want to. Maybe she's got something, one of his toys, and he wants her to give it back, but he doesn't want to take it from her because he's scared of her. Let me go see what he's barking at. What? What's up? What do you see? I don't see anything in here. What? What do you see? silly dog. I don't see anything. I see that thing. I see this thing. Okay, now that we've gotten that figured out. Actually, I don't know what he was barking at. I think maybe there was a dog that walked by, but I didn't see anything out the window. Hi, Nazik. But yeah, so, you know, but at the same time, I don't think those aphids are like consciously suffering. You know, like, I mean, maybe the pugs aren't consciously suffering; they just look like they are. So it's complicated because we've kind of domesticated them to be like pleasurable to look at meat nuggets that are like vaguely anthropomorphic with their squished baby-like faces and all this stuff. So, will I ever own a pug? No. Will I appreciate pugs because they're dogs, and will I pet them and love them when I see them? Yes. Um, will I be a little weirded out or judgmental if somebody obsesses over how much they love pugs? Yeah, a little bit. So yeah, again, I did. They have all those health issues, so I'm like, I'm not a fan of that. It's one of the reasons why I wanted the Gompers too, is like a healthy breed, you know, that they don't have any of these horrible crippling issues that some other dogs have, you know, like no hip dysplasia and that's like the main one, hip dysplasia, but all those connective tissue issues and blindness in one ear and deafness and blindness in one ear, deafness in one eye, and all that stuff. So yeah, it's complicated, man-made concept because everything's alive. We are all intimately interacting with our environment on a micro and macro scale at any given time. So the idea of an organism selecting another organism for certain characteristics is just an extension of natural selection, because it happens with other things all the time. Deer eating one plant over another plant is a selective process, and we see that as completely natural. And ants and aphids developing an intimate relationship is completely natural. Commensalism and mutualism are completely natural, and yet we apply that to humans, and all of a sudden we think it's some artificial abomination. So yeah, it's just part of the speciation process of dogs. Artificial insemination, that's a different topic altogether, and that definitely kind of throws a wrench into the prospects of like dog speciating. But you know, I looked at Viktor trying to hump Karen's dogs, and they're currently half the size of Nazig, and I looked at that and just thought like, there is no natural way. There is no way of these two animals' accords that they could ever produce offspring together. There are too many, was it post-zygotic barriers to this. So, like by one definition, they're different species. They may share an overwhelming chunk of their DNA, but they're clearly from very separate lineages, and they can't naturally reproduce with each other. Again, it's dogs will just continue to speciate and radiate as they associate with us, and we select for more and more. We select for passively and actively more and more different traits and things. But so yeah, that's my complex opinion on pugs. Again, kind of looking at them, it's like, yeah, it's kind of an abomination when you see something like Viktor, his nice, pleasant proportions in his muzzle and all this stuff, and then you see this little thing that's it's like, yeah, I have a preference here. Yes, pugs are funny, but oh my goodness, what a medical nightmare. Yeah, that's kind of, it's kind of, it's a dog. How can you dislike a dog, basically, you know? Loki asking about keeping Myrmecophilus with an ant colony. Would that work? Or maybe feed them exoskeletons of like isopods or kind of roach that doesn't eat theirs. I had Myrmecophilus living with some Tapenoma ants that infested my basement. The colony died out last winter, I think, actually. I think they were too far off from the natural seasonal cycle, and it just sort of did them in over time. It was a colony I brought into the house and accidentally let escape from a piece of wood, and they set up shop in some roach containers. But there were Myrmecophilus living with them from Arizona for a while, and all the original members of the Myrmecophilus were alive for about a year. It's one of the small, maybe it was the Western ant cricket. but I never saw babies. So even if you keep them with ants, there seems to be some other part of the equation that might be missing. I don't know exactly what it is. Anybody having audio issues with the stream? Hilarious. Oh, we're an actual audio glitch. I thought you were talking about Victor. Victor making lots of noise. Scary when Dad talks to his computer. Yeah. Look, I wonder what they're all doing right now. Now, here's the thing: is like whenever they go off, I'm always gonna be wondering what are they doing. You know. So, yeah, I'll try Myrmecophilus again. I'm really trying to curb my enthusiasm on like projects that may not work out for the next couple of months because again, looking for a property and needing to save and hold on to some money and get ready for a big move. And it's like, okay, you get the facility, you get all this stuff set up, then you can really go really deep into a lot of things that you kind of just want to try right now and see if they'll work. What's the temperature? 75, 25% air humidity. Crazy. It's from the windows being open, all the dryness. Hi. Hi, good boy. Oh, gracious with your presence. Yeah. Is a stream about your kind? Yeah. Okay. Here she comes. Here he is. Here she comes. Here she comes, the little princess. Look at the little tail. Look at the little floppy tail. He's so cute. So I hope to one day have a group of 8 gompers. I think 8 full-time gompers on the future property. Oh, I think she's jealous. Yeah, I know. Consider more bugs, and there are some things that I'm gonna be getting from people, or stuff that I find in Michigan. I'm gonna try and keep, but it's more brain power and work right now, and I am struggling with the auction stuff. With the last of the auction stuff still going out, I am really struggling. You guys may have noticed the site hasn't gotten any sort of updates other than to let everybody know about Nazi coming in weeks, months. I've just been so busy, and the house situation is going to be a whole other level. It's going to be the most stressful and biggest thing I've ever done in my entire life. Oh yeah, Loki. I was just about to type my my number in there, but I was going to dox myself. What I'm going to do after the stream, which I'm going to wrap up pretty soon, is I need to eat something, and after I eat, I'm going to take these 2 goofballs out and play with them a little bit, and I'm going to finish doing emails actually. So I'll be doing that tonight, and then tomorrow's some more packing here, bug husbandry all day, yada yada, this that. So actually, tomorrow's the first day in a long time that I have kind of an open schedule to, my obligation tomorrow is strictly bug stuff. I don't have to worry about. I've been driving back and forth to my parents with Victor to walk him since it's a lot of work for my parents, for my dad to do that. He's the only one who can do it. And so, I was driving back and forth and just see him and he doesn't run with Victor, which I do. So Victor really needed that exercise. And of course, now he has a girlfriend. So he's getting a lot more exercise through the day. So any other questions about gompers, guys? I love this breed, and I can't wait to see how many other different gompers find their way into my life over the rest of it. And one other thing was I was talking about the strictness of the Gomper Club, and one of the rules is not to breed the dogs until they're over 20 months of age, ideally 2 years. So you see if they have any health problems, if there's any personality issues, enough time to get the elbows and stuff checked out, the embark testing, etc. So if anybody is wanting some Gomper puppies from Roach Crossing, you got a 2-year wait until that's going to happen. So you have plenty of time to prepare because, oh, poor baby. I think she sees her reflection. She's whining at it over by the door. Can I have your bugs after 8+ dogs press you to death? Final question. Perhaps, but the nice thing is the dogs will be working full time on the future farm with the goats, so it won't be as difficult as having 2 dogs in a small house. Although the yard, they really put the work into the yard today in terms of like they're really getting their bang for the buck out of the space that they have available. So look at him staring at her. Look at this hair. You guys see this hair? Not my hair. This hair, this is just bleeding off of him right now. That's the typical stuff. So yeah, all right. If nobody else has any other questions, thank you all for joining us. I hope you guys got a good eyeful of the dogs in the background. I'm sure both of them will be crashing streams frequently in the future too. And you guys, it'll be great. I know we basically did watch Viktor grow on the stream. You could do a time lapse of pictures of him sitting out there, or coming into here. And it's gonna be the same way for Nazik. We're gonna get to watch her grow, and I think she'll be a very sweet dog. She's not. I don't think she's ever gonna be as sweet and as affectionate and doting as Viktor is, but she's gonna be a very good dog. She's exactly the dog that I needed for this big blockhead. This big blockhead right here. Yeah. That's how you know he's comfortable. He'll sit down with his back to you and he'll just sort of look off. Thank you for the stream. Love the pups. Thank you, JoJo. So I'll see everybody next week. We resume regular live stream stuff. As soon as the last auction order is shipped out, I'm actually going to do another mini auction to generate some general funds. Just cause. And again, because there's a couple of shelves that I left off of the last auction that I forgot about. So I'll do a giveaway. Maybe the next stream I'll do a giveaway. We'll do one coming up, one of these streams. So goodbye, large hairy creatures. Thanks everybody for the turnout. I look forward to seeing you guys at the regular live stream next week. Take care. Let's see what we get. Hey, Viktor. Well, I'll try and do one last thing just for you guys. I did it on the After Dark stream because Viktor was looking at me a very specific way. I'm going to see if I can get him to howl right now. Yep, I'm going to see if I can get him to howl. It's the gampr stream. We got to try. Viktor. Papa. 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 Good boy. All right, there we go. There we go, guys. We did it. All right, see you all next week. Take care.